Just excited to continue this conversation with our young voices and giving them a platform to be heard and to share their point of view on everything that's happening, not just only with Mr. Floyd's murder, but with everything concerning being a young person, Black, and owning that moment and speaking to that moment. I really wanted you to be a part of this because I know you have a lot to contribute. I've watched you over the years and what you have done in terms of bringing awareness to equality in every area and every aspect. And really appreciate you. So I'll allow you to introduce yourself. Of course, I'll say, first of all, this is Kayla Hinkson Grant. This is my daughter.
My name is Kayla, as she's already said. I go to Mount Holyoke College. I am a rising senior, and I study anthropology, reproductive justice, and archival work.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about what you've done in the past in terms of bringing awareness to any aspect of equality and injustice.
Sure. So in high school, I took every opportunity I could to talk about either people of color experience or using the fact that I was doing academic work to be in favor and in support of some type of inclusion or equity. And so in high school, I researched the experience of Syrian refugees in the state of Connecticut, because that's where we live. So that project was a year-long project, independent research project that I worked on about the rise of populism and like fascism, which is like everything that Trump is, just like anti-racist things in general, like rising in this like new era in the current moment. What radicalizes people, whether is hatred and being treated like they're not human.
I remember just watching it and seeing you surrounded by a sea of people that did not look like you.
A number of guests who are watching the world. We also have students from the American School Foundation of Monterrey in Mexico joining us, in Jordan, who are joining us from the Middle East.
I also researched with a group the perception of microaggressions on our campus between students and faculty. And then I also looked at, with that same group, the perception of female students and whether or not they could be experts in their academic work.
I remember you went to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to present the microaggression, that research that you did. And how was that? And how was that taken? Even at the school that you attended then, how was that received? Because
the conference that we attended, it was perceived really well. We were highly regarded for like our professionalism and the accuracy and like how scientific it was. At our actual campus, it was the opposite effect. I was targeted to the point and bullied to the point where I missed an entire week of school, as you all know, which is a ridiculous sentence to have to say out loud, that I missed school for a week because I wanted to talk about race. We were targeted. I was yelled at saying that I was making up the research and the data, and that I wasn't smart enough to do it, that and the third, and just any type of negative like thing to fight against me, other research members, and the project, when it was a survey based on what they said. You can't, like, there's no way to mess with the survey data. It's literally calculated, tallied, what you say, I show back to you. Right. So I was just showing them what they felt, what they experienced, and their thoughts.
Then a micro assault, which is often conscious. An example of this would be asking a person of color who was born and raised in the U.S. Where they're really from. It negates their American heritage.
I was attacked by their guilt. They
Right.
were uncomfortable with what they were. They were honest, and they were uncomfortable with what they were doing.
I remember attending one of the presentations. I held on to my chair because I wanted to be that stereotype mom, that type Black mom. And I was angry because I know the work that you put into it. And yeah, why should you have to miss school for a week, right? But that was the attack because of your race. And just having opportunities to travel all over the world and go to different schools, but to be always that 1%. What has that been like for you?
I was just talking about this. I I feel like it leaves a sour taste, the best way I can describe it. Like when I was in Greece, I distinctly remember like being in a shopping center in Syntagma Square, which is government. I think that's what Syntagma means. Yeah, government square. And I I could feel people's eyes on me, and people like would stop in the middle of the square and like watch me walk, as I was like, oh, they're like, who is this? Why are they here? Because for context, Greece is like I think like a 98% homogeneous country, which is all white and all Greek Orthodox Christians. They don't have a great history or present political scene in regards to people who are different and immigrants.
Right. So just being there, you could feel, you could sense it.
Yeah, for sure.
But even so, you've sensed that earlier in your after middle school going up to high school. I look at your graduation picture and it just dawned on me like, whoa. When you're that one, or you're that, one of three, it stands out. And what was that like?
It's very isolating because you never know who you can trust or who you're safe with. Even with people who I was comfortable with, who I was vulnerable with, and I thought were like I was friends with, out of the blue, I remember being in the cafeteria line waiting for lunch, felt someone's hand in my hair, and I turned around, and this was someone that I had called a friend. I was like, why? What came upon you to invade my personal space without my permission and put your dirty hands in my hair?
And what were they checking for?
I don't even remember what the response was, because whatever it was invalid and irrelevant. Right. But like, it's really isolating and it can like take a toll on you. And so I always just try to make sure that I take time for myself and take care of myself.
Now, with regards to what's going on presently, it's not fortunately that racism has always been a part of us. It's now because of technology and you get to see things unfold in real lifetime. So right now there has been a movement. We're not just showing up in the streets, but we're demanding change. And I see now more young people like yourself getting involved and they're making their voices heard. How important do you think it is that individuals like yourself, and how important is this for my generation to not necessarily say step aside, but to work alongside with?
I think it's really important to let people in my generation lead the change, because I think that people forget the fact that racism is so deep that it affects us mentally and like physically, and it affects like our implicit biases and like the way that we form our beliefs. Even when we think, even as a Black person, you can have like prejudice and like harmful beliefs or thoughts because it's a systemic thing. Mm-hmm. And I think the older generations, they've been exposed to it longer, so it's harder to fight back. Whereas like my generation and younger, we've been exposed to it less. Mm-hmm. So it's a little easier to see, oh no, X is wrong. Like that's harmful, that's dangerous, that's exclusionary. And also like, I don't know, I feel like for some reason my generation's a little more willing to take a risk. And I think like the environmental movement is a really like good example. I think people my age and younger, like it's really clear to us that we have to shape the future that we want. And if you look historically, like people say, oh, this is a wake-up call for this. Like, it's not a wake-up call. This is the same racist problems have been going on for hundreds of years. It's an ongoing thing, a 100-year plus battle. So it's not a wake-up call. It's exhaustion. It's like tired. You've been doing nothing for way too long. It's now or never. Like, you need to do something.
So what have you done personally in this time? Since you've been back, you're aware of what's going on. What have you done?
Personally, I haven't been going to like a lot of protests or anything like that. I just went to my first one today. But that's just because I don't think that it's my responsibility to go to protests because I'm Black. I know what's going on. I know how I'm treated every day. I'm not the one who needs to be informed about this, and me going out to protest could put me at even higher risk and more vulnerability for police to target me, or at higher risk for getting COVID and not being treated properly, or even being provided proper testing for it because of the fact that I'm Black. I think it's non-Black people and white people's responsibility to be out there protesting and educating themselves, because I think that Black people often, because they're so exhausted, they take the onus on to educate people, but it's not our job, it's their job. Today was the first time I went out to protest, but for the most part I've just been doing like social media, virtual protesting, sharing resources and like educational tools for people to educate themselves, and like links for different organizations and like bail funds and things like that.
So talk a little bit about what was your experience like today? What did you notice right away once you went out? What was it like?
It was very interesting. So it was a peaceful protest organized to connect and acknowledge the gap and between Bridgeport and Fairfield with resources and experiences and demographics. It was organized by Omega Phi Kappa Multicultural Fraternity, Inc.
And what was it like when you went?
I wouldn't say it was moving, because I feel like what a lot of people do is like they thank white people or non-Black people for doing what they're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And like acknowledging and respecting like human rights. But it was motivating, I guess I would say, because I feel like a majority of people who were there were white, and I did see, like, as I parked my car to get there, I saw a lot of people coming from like Villa Avenue walking, and I was like, oh, so people from Fairfield are actually coming to this.
Okay.
And I was shook, but I was glad to see it. And then I only walked with them for a little bit, because me being like accident prone, I rolled my ankle, walked with them a little bit, and they had like nice chants. They said, unity, diversity, who are we? We are one. No justice, no peace, and then like say his name, say her name type thing. Okay. And I believe they walked down to Black Rock, and then they walked back to Clinton Park.
Okay, but did you notice anything that you had mentioned something about just on the scene?
Oh yeah, after I rolled my ankle, I got in my car and I drove to catch up with them, honk and give them that type of motivation and support. And I noticed at Walgreens, which is where I went to park, as they were walking by.
Walgreens in Fairfield, right?
Yeah, on Kings Highway. There was like 5 Fairfield police just in the Walgreens parking lot, and there was like another like 3 on the other side, like kind of spread out. And as the group marched by, one of the police officers took their car and blocked the entrance to the Walgreens. And I was just like, wow, that's really what you're here to do.
Yeah.
Like, it just like made me upset, because like, 1, it's a peaceful protest. Mm-hmm. 2, why are you assuming because it has anything to do with Black people that they're gonna try to loot Walgreens? And then 3, what does Walgreens really have for me to loot if I was gonna loot? Like, I don't know, it was just upsetting. And they were just like on stands, and like when I tried to catch up with them again after they left Walgreens, there was another like undercover cop car, all Black, that like preventing people from driving by them, and like giving them support. And I was just like, okay, this is my sign to maybe take a break. So after that, I waited back at where they started, because I knew they were coming back. I waited for them to come back. And then, difference, the Bridgeport police blocked off the street for them to cross the street, that was interesting. Not that I'm in favor of any police, but I was like, okay, I see it. And they closed the protest by having a moment of silence for all of the lives injusticely taken by police brutality, and like a unifying chant. And it was like a nice closing moment.
That's beautiful. But I'm glad you went, and I'm glad you came on this with me. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Kayla. I know this is like, lady, I'm going to kill you for giving me on here, but really appreciate your expertise in this field. I say expertise because I think you've been doing this for quite some time in many different areas, and I'm proud to be your mom. And thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Bye.